All right, good evening, everybody. It's 5 o'clock, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Sean Callan. Here. Julie Chetney.
Here.
Tom Chiappa.
Here.
David Crisafulli.
Here.
Jim McKenzie's here. Kristen Norfleet.
Here.
Sean Onmock.
Here.
And our student representatives absent. As a procedural thing, before we get to the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to note that there was an error in the agenda. Number 12, adjournment, comes before number 13, executive session. We've got to have our executive session before adjournment. So I'd like to amend the agenda to move the adjournment to the end and just go with unanimous consent if there's no objections. We're good? Okay, thank you. Now stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first things for the public, and I do not believe anybody signed up. So next is our acknowledgements with Tom Chiappa.
All right. We're going to start over in Minetto. First, the Minetto Way Assembly. Our first quarter Minetto Way Assembly took place on Wednesday, October 30th. At each assembly, we focus on our Minetto Way and talk about being respectable, responsible problem solvers who are safe at school. SRO Brandon Porter also talked about safety, and Juju helped him share Halloween safety tips. From there, we're traveling over to Fitzhugh Park. In fourth grade, social studies students have been learning about Native Americans in New York State. We specifically learned about the Haudenosaunee people of the Longhouse. The kids in Mrs. Johnson's class were tasked with creating a longhouse at home using things from nature, just like the Native Americans, the Haudenosaunee. I'm going to say it twice because I just like to. The kids used tree bark, sticks, grass, leaves, and whatever other materials they found to create their longhouses. The kids put a lot of effort into this project, and their longhouses are proof of that hard work. We're going to stay over at Fitzhugh Park, and FPS also had Officer Ray Abbott from the Oswego Fire Department come to our kindergarten classes to teach our students about fire safety. Our students learned how to stop, drop, and roll, find a safety spot outside with the family, stay low under the smoke, pound on the wall, and to keep their house clean in case of a fire emergency. Officer Abbott also dressed up in his firefighting gear to show our kindergartners not to be afraid of firefighters, and the firefighters are our friends. Thank you, Officer Abbott. FBS also had their annual Inside Halloween Parade last week. And now we're over to Kingsford Park. Kingsford is excited to announce that the following students were selected to participate in the 2024 Oswego Elementary All-County Band and Chorus Festival this past weekend. Students are sixth grade students who are selected for their musicianship and leadership in their school day programs. Olive Mosier is selected for chorus, Jacob Barilla for chorus, Grace Filkins for chorus, Ellie Rose, chorus, Sebastian Deigel, band and trombone, or trombone and band, Parker Belowski, band, trombone, Adriana Cozzoli, band, alto saxophone, and Avery Bristol, band, baritone. Now we move over to athletics. OHS junior Lana Shu competed in gymnastics this fall with Central Square. On Friday, October 25th, she competed in sectionals, where she was first on the vault, fifth on the bars, sixth on the beam, second on the floor, and first all around in her division. We'd like to congratulate her on her accomplishments and thank Central Square for providing us and Lana with this opportunity. Staying with athletics, it's time for the fall sports sectional matchups. Girls volleyball, fourth seed in sectionals, and hosted Auburn in the quarterfinal game on October 30th, and they won 3-2, advanced to the sectional semifinals on Wednesday, November 6th, tomorrow night, at FM at 6 p.m. And cross country, sectionals at Mount Markham on November 9th, boys volleyball, November 7th, sectionals, semifinals at JD, and girls swim sectionals state qualifiers ending November 8th. And this is just a reminder to the whole community, modified Winter 1 sports start on November 6th, and JV and varsity winter sports start on November 18th. Staying at the high school, on Tuesdays, the counseling departments offer assistance with college applications for seniors during lunches. This is in addition to students making appointments to meet with their counselors. On October 25th and 26th, the OHS Drama Club presented An Evening with Edgar Allan Poe. Congratulations to all of the students participating in this fabulous production. Congratulations goes out also to the Oswego Marching Buccaneers for their second place performance of Red at the Dome. Congratulations on a very successful season this year. And congratulations to all our students and all our schools for those acknowledgments. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Tom. Next on our agenda, under Board of Education, is a presentation by Tom Zuber. So Mr. Zuber is going to present to us the executive summary of our budget from the last fiscal year.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. And I first must apologize. I was so excited to vote this morning that I left my my suit coat and my tie hanging on the hook in our mudroom. So I apologize for the lack of tie and coat. So, but again, I am here to just present the June 30th, 2024 basic financial statements and internal control communication. I'm pleased to report that we have met with the audit committee back on October 3rd and did review this information in detail with the audit committee and had a very nice conversation. And again, I'm pleased to report we did issue an unqualified opinion, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So that is really what you're looking for in the audit of the basic financial statements. So again, this is really a summary of the basic financial statements. And again, I'll highlight a couple of the items we talked about. Again, one of the items that you want to keep in mind is that these financial statements, they're really the results of a budget process that you started more than 2 years ago. So in those 2 years, there certainly has been a lot of challenges that districts have faced, certainly inflation, right? State aid uncertainties, property tax cap challenges, employee benefit challenges, as well as the federal stimulus funds and managing the federal stimulus funds. So a lot of those challenges you've kind of seen over the past few years. And again, the district continues to be in good financial condition, okay? And when we take a look at the financial condition of the district, we're really looking at how the district is looking at the long-term planning, the development and utilization of your reserve accounts, and how that rolls into the overall capital plan of the school district as well. So again, we're looking at a lot of different areas. Some of those areas that the district does look at, specifically in the reserves, some of those key areas that we talk about in the financial condition of a school district. You've got a couple key reserves relating to your employee retirement contribution reserve, teachers retirement contribution reserve, your capital reserves, all very important reserves to have as part of the long-term financial health of the school district. In addition to that, you've got some other flexible reserves, the workers' compensation reserve, employee the unemployment insurance reserve, as well as tax surcharge reserve. So you have several different reserves that the school district monitors and reviews on a regular basis. In addition to that, the district was able to allocate about $7.6 million into those reserves based on your year-end financial results. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Overall, that's what was allocated in the reserves, but your overall equity, you're right at that 4% of the prior year budget. Your overall equities, right, which includes the reserves, went up about $8.4 million, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we kind of walk through the handout. But overall, this is that snapshot. Those are those fund balances and reserves that I talk about. And again, we spent quite a bit of time with the audit committee reviewing the different reserves and the allocations into the different reserves. So again, had a very nice conversation on that. And where some of those dollars came from that the district was able to allocate into the reserves, primarily on the revenue side of the budget. So if we look at the revenue side of the budget, the district had collected about $117 million, about $107 million estimated revenues. So you folks collected more in revenues by about $9.4 million, okay? So that's the revenue side of the budget. So again, there were a couple key items there. Interest earnings, very strong returns on interest earnings. Again, that's one of those areas when we looked at the budget process 2 years ago, interest rates were below 0.5%, right? And right now with the district's investment programs, throughout last year, they probably were at 4.5% to 5.5% in terms of investment returns. So very strong returns there, as well as stop-loss reimbursement, which relates to the employee benefit program, specifically the health insurance program. You know, when you have high-cost claims, you do get some reimbursement back from those health insurance programs, so we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then the formulas aid. As you know, last year was really the last full year of the fully funding formula aid. And as we all know, there's a little uncertainty right now with regard to where state aid is going to go going forward. But again, on the revenue side of the budget, you generated positive $9.4 million in budget variance. So again, primarily those dollars that you allocated into reserves did come on the revenue side of the budget, okay? Again, on the expense side of the budget, you spent about 98.1% of the budget. So again, you generated a positive variance on the expense side of the budget of about $2.1 million. And one of the things that we talked about, and I'm sure you folks recall, is as a result of some of the challenges relating to employee benefits, specifically in the health insurance area, you did have to amend your budget about $6.9 million in total to cover some of those health insurance costs. So a portion of that came from those stop-loss recoveries, and the other portion of that came from your fund balance, okay? So again, just to be aware of that. So overall, you know, when you generate that $9.4 million of positive fund balance, the $2.1 million of a surplus on the expense side of the budget, so you really generated a little over $12.1 million in budgetary surplus on the expense, or $11.5 million on budgetary surplus on the expense budget, okay, and the revenue budget. So again, those were the dollars that you generated, but then those are reduced by what you gave back or what you used to support the budget amendments for health insurance, as well as for some of the other amendments relating to the health program that you had run in a school resource officer. So again, you generated about a $11.5 million positive variance. You gave back about $3.2 million, and that ends up to that $8.3 million equity increase in the overall revenue or fund balances and reserves. So on that slide that we saw here, that $8.4 million, you know, those budgetary surpluses less what you amended your budget by get you back to that $8.4 million. So just to be aware of that. Again, those reserves, those fund balances, those revenue side of the budget, which we really don't know if that will continue, right? As you know, interest rates did get adjusted about a month ago by the Fed, so will we continue to see the returns on the interest is something that we'll probably see a little more light probably sometime next week or so. So again, overall, you did end the year in very good financial position with the general fund. In addition to the general fund, you did spend about $3.9 million in federal stimulus monies. So as you know, those stimulus monies are gone, right? They ended, those programs ended. So again, you spent those dollars outside the general fund, primarily on instructional programs, salaries and so forth. So again, the district did utilize those funds, and again, any recurring expenditures are back and built back into the general fund for the 2025 year. So again, school lunch, we talked about school lunch fund. Again, you're doing very well in the school lunch fund. Although you're doing so well, we had to be a little critical of it in our internal control communication. But again, you're doing a nice job with your school lunch program. One of the other things that we talked about, you know, outside of the operating fund, so outside of your general fund, outside of your capital, your school lunch fund, was really the entity-wide statement. So it's one of the financial statements that's included in the audit report. And that statement, although isn't how you operate, does tell a little bit of a story of the district. And one of the things we talked about is that financial statement, which again isn't how you operate. This consolidates all of your operating funds into a single column, includes all of your capital assets, your long-term obligations. That statement does report a $284 million unrestricted deficit, okay? So you have more liabilities than assets. And the reason for that is this retiree health obligation that you folks have to report in your financial statements, again, outside the general fund. However, New York State doesn't allow you to fund it, okay? So you have this liability. you can't fund it, so that creates this negative number. And again, your financial bond rating companies and so forth, they're very aware about this liability, but they really pay more attention to your reserve funds, your general fund and your fund balance. So again, it does tell a little bit of a story relating to the types of commitments in your contracts and so forth relating to health insurance. But again, it's not how you operate. You operate in your general fund on a pay-as-you-go basis. So if you have $1 million expense, you budget $1 million and you pay $1 million. But again, it's a number in the financial statement that we just want to make sure everybody understands that it's there. It's a calculation. You have to report it, but you can't fund it based on New York State rules and regulations. So again, we did have a nice discussion talking about those items. We did include in our internal control communication 5 procedural items to enhance the recommendations or to enhance the checks and balances. But again, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So just a few procedural items to enhance what you're currently doing. And then 2 items we talked about last year that you did implement corrective action on. So again, very positive from the audit side of it. So again, we probably spent around 40 minutes with the audit committee, 40 to 50 minutes with the audit committee reviewing the financial statements in detail. Had a very nice conversation. Again, when you're looking at your general fund, your operating fund, you ended the year in very good financial position. Primarily, it's from the revenue side of the budget with the strong interest earnings as well as some of the formula aids increases. And again, you know, on the expense side of the budget, you do want to make sure you continue to monitor the employee benefit areas. Okay? Any questions?
Any questions from board members? All right. Thank you, Mr.
Great.
Stewart.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Okay, so next on the agenda is our superintendent's report. Kilmer.
And with that, I'm going to invite our elementary school principals to come forward. Last meeting, we had the high school and middle school action plan presentations. We now have our 5 elementary principals here to do their presentations. And I think we actually have Riley Elementary first. So excited about this. As they were all looking at their shoes.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for entertaining me. It was really quite a task. Let me explain a little bit.
Actually, Tracy, just because it's live streamed, I do need you at the mic so people can hear. Oh, so you can carry it around if you wish.
Let's just do this. All right. So, do you want me to go through all of this? Gotcha. All right, we're going to talk about Charles E. Riley Elementary School and how we are aligning all of our goals this year to our strategic plan. In a nutshell, these are the 4 main areas of our strategic plan: school culture and climate, student success, community connections, and operational systems. I have a team of 14 members of our guiding coalition that got together and made some incredibly zealous, perhaps overzealous goals that we needed to capitalize on and condense. So Ray's laughing, but my goodness, I think he can attest to the fact that they were a little bit lengthy. So we have condensed them into these 4 areas that I will lay out for you. Our first goal is the school culture and climate, and our overarching goal states we aim to enhance staff morale and well-being to cultivate a supportive and collaborative school environment while implementing restorative practices and social-emotional learning to create a positive atmosphere that addresses the needs of all students. We also aim to engage families and the community in school activities and decision-making processes to foster a sense of belonging and shared responsibility for the school environment. This goal can overarch so many different things. And we pared it down to some strategies that we currently are employing and continue to employ. As you know, my first year was last year. Toward the second half of the year, we started to implement some of these, and they have steamrolled forward. So some of the strategies we're going to do to address this culture and climate is staff morale building activities. I have a Golden Goose Award once a week. We have team building games every few weeks throughout the school year, such as Staff Bingo, Connect 4. Next week is Secret Spirit Week. Adults and support staff have been scheduled to support all of our K-2 primary classes at the beginning and the ending of the day. We have announcement contests and videos created by our student council. Toward the second half of the year, we're going to have grades 5 and 6 having jobs to do to build their own community within our building. We have monthly team meals in the newly designed faculty lounge. We are starting to build in some common language that all of us will address to improve our culture and climate. We have community gatherings, which are monthly. They also encompass not only our entire building for an assembly, but also the parents of the grade level that puts on the assembly. We have multiple family events, opportunities for families to come into the school that I will address on the next slide, and multiple home and school activities. And our outcome indicators that we're going to be addressing in order to meet these strategies and our ultimate goal include staff surveys with feedback, our PLC collective survey results, parent surveys that are going to go out 3 times a year, and data based on all of our behavioral referrals. Our next goal is student success. We aim to provide a structured time for teachers to collaborate across all areas, aiming to support 80% of our students in making average to above average growth in ELA and math, while at the same time reducing our absenteeism by 10%. Some of our strategies are going to be including bi-monthly grade level and department team meetings focused on Tier 1 instructional needs and data, guided coalition meetings to ensure steps are in place for sustainable collaborative sessions that support meeting our norms. Best practices are going to be modeled at every faculty meeting. We have attendance boards outside every single one of our classrooms, making attendance a very poignant fact, not only for our teachers, but our students as well. We are aiming to have some parent education. Commendations for attendance are given at monthly assemblies called community gatherings in our building. We're developing a protocol for reporting attendance issues and communicating that out to our staff and our parents, making it a lot more communicative. And IST protocols are being tightened and strengthened within our school. Our outcome indicators for this are shared agendas and meeting notes, guiding coalition team survey, evaluating the impact of meetings. We have attendance data we're going to be looking at, and MClass and iReady data is going to be helping show our growth. Our third one is community connections. We aim to increase parent, guardian, and community engagement within our CER community. Multiple strategies to do this as well. We've got family nights. Next Wednesday, here's a plug, we have Bingo for Books. We're really excited, bringing in the college hockey team, bringing in the bookmobile. It's gonna be a great time. We just had our Build-A-Bench. We're doing an outdoor learning lab. We have Pirate Night. We're gonna be developing some parent workshops to help teach the parents how to better help their students at home. Open house and kindergarten orientation are 2 great times for our families to be welcomed into our building. We will have evening events, but also band, chorus, concerts, orchestra, musicals. Home and School Association meets 2 times a month. We will be we do display calendar events on our TV in our newly designed vestibule. We have family updates weekly from me. They're videos, they're super gitchy, but they're 2 minutes and people might look at them instead of read a newsletter, you never know. We also have bilingual family updates that are in video and hard copy form. We have a Kid Garden lofty idea that is a 2-year process that we are going to be doing, which is open to intergenerational lessons. We've already started that with our outdoor lab, and it will continue into an intergenerational garden in the next year. And again, our outdoor learning lab is working with local agencies such as Burks and Lindley's to donate materials and supply us with the know-how to do it. Our outcome indicators are attendance at events, items on our calendar, products, flyers, and multimedia. We have events planned and the creation of the outdoor learning lab. Last but not least, operational systems. I'm looking to Bob. We almost at 5? Okay, perfect, 10. Operational systems, we aim to achieve 100% engagement of families in our community by utilizing Parent Square as a primary communication tool while also adapting to the evolving needs of families to ensure they feel supported and connected to our school. How are we going to accomplish that? We're going to provide education about the app itself. We are addressing Parent Square at parent-teacher conferences. We've got a QR code posted in our vestibule on the TV. Our Kid Garden produce, we aim, when we do have it up and going, is going to be put in blessings in a backpack and sent home to our very catchment. We're connecting outside agencies to families for further assistance. We have that in pamphlets in our vestibule and on the TV. We have agencies at all of our nightly events. We've got monthly discussions with grade levels about concerns of students in the grade level. We have the Latchkey program this year in our building. And we aim to improve communication on our crisis team. We've got parent squared data, parent survey data, conversations at follow-up meetings, and however many students end up being serviced by all of these items. And that is my 5 minutes. There we go. Are we good? Okay.
Gonna put that back in there. Just the side here. Hi, I'm Amy Miller. I'm the elementary school principal at Fitzhugh Park. I also worked with our guiding coalition to create our goals for this school year. I have 10 members on our guiding coalition, including myself. Our first goal is at FPS we will foster a positive learning community where all members are supported academically, socially, and emotionally. I think all of our board members know, and the community knows, that Fitzhugh Park is a Leader in Me school. We focus on the 7 habits. There's also 8 now. I'm not going to list them for you because you can look online about the habits. But one of our goals is to use our Leader in Me digital platform that's included with our membership with Leader in Me. It includes the Leader in Me curriculum, articles, videos, short activities, portfolio guides to support our students. Our goal is to do this 2 to 3 times a week for 15 minutes during our social emotional learning time in the morning. And that's our goal. Another part is our students will all create their leadership portfolios. This includes their academic goals, their WIGs, which is wildly important goals, their accomplishments throughout the year, whether it's academic, attendance, personal goals, SEL. And this also includes student-led conferences and activities throughout the year and an All About Them page. We also created this year our Classroom Buddy program. We are going to meet 8 times per year. We're meeting for a second time on Friday during our half day. This program it pairs one classroom with another. So our kindergarten, our 3 kindergarten sections pair with 1 3rd grade, 1 6th grade, and a 1 5th grade group. And then our 1st and 4th grade pair together, our 2nd grade and 5th grade pair together, and our 3rd grade and 6th grade also pair together. And that has built our classroom community and culture in our building and a connection between our students and also staff. Part of our highlights, our outcomes for this, what we're using, I'm just going to pass it around to the board to see, is we use our measurable results assessment survey. This is survey data from Leader in Me. This is our one from last year, but we're using that to look at our goals, and it encompasses 3 different areas. One of them, what we're focusing on improving it on, is leadership. So the scale is 0 to 100. It's 90 to 100 is effective, or I think 90 to 100, I don't know, I forgot on there, but 80 is effective, 70 to 79 is satisfactory, and 50 to 69 needs improvement. And we looked on there from last year on areas where we can improve under leadership, and that's how we created our goals. We do this every spring. We're going to do it again and look at that data in order to refine our goals for next school year. All students are going to have a leadership portfolio, and we also use one other survey. I'm going to pass this also around. It's our FPS Staff Collective Responsibility Survey. It's based on work we've been doing with professional learning communities, and we've modified that survey to fit the needs of our school. It also allows us to look at what's working and where areas we can improve on. And we collect that survey data from our staff to also inform our decisions and improve our goals, which segues into goal 2. Oh, and we're going to use our 4 critical questions from PLCs in order to help us, to help us drive our learning goals for the school year. So also for this, some of our strategy highlights we are using. I'm trying to go fast and keep it under 5 minutes. Gonna keep moving. We've created a data meeting agenda that keeps our data meetings on pace. And we've also created a summative learning assessment tool that ensures that our teachers, our grade levels are administering, oops, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. So we're also using this to create a common assessment data. So at certain times, we're giving assessments out at certain times to make sure that we are on track. We are going to use our beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year data to track if 80% of our students are making adequate yearly growth. So we're using that as a support for us as well. Then our next one, our third one, is that FPS will increase interactions and engagement with our families in school. Our strategies for this one, we have developed a Leader in Me assembly schedule, and I'm going to pass this around so you can see what we're doing. So each month, we are doing a student assembly. We also recognize our leaders of the month, and we are inviting in our parents. For October, we had 21 out of 28 of our families attend for 75% of our families. So we're tracking that data that way. We're also inviting our PR team in, and they've come in and also recognize that. To look at our outcomes, how we're doing, we're going to use our MRA data from Leader in Me, and we are also going to track our attendance at our monthly Leader in Me assemblies. And our last one, we do have 3 areas for FPS. We will monitor student attendance to combat chronic absenteeism. We're partnering with SRO Miller, who is in our building, and he's also shared with Riley this year. And we also created an FPS Links Hub, which created more of an ease of getting to all of these items that we're doing because we're so busy in our school. It's like a data hub base with links for our staff for ease, so we're not focusing on where things are to get things done, but we know they're in one place. And we are going to use a tracking form for attendance. And I'm just going to pass around just an example of what the Links Hub looks like. It's digital, and I'd be happy to share with any of these resources with you. Thank you.
I'm Stephanie Griffin, the principal at Frederick Layton Elementary. There we are. We created our goals for our action plan through our 10-person guiding coalition team. So we also, in line with our strategic plan, school culture and climate is our first one. We are going to build and strengthen student connections and enhance climate and culture through positive school experiences. Some of those include some of the strategies. These are the strategies. Most of these in here are new and things that we have learned over time. The ones that we continue to add on here are the ones that we are refining. So monthly attendance updates to families, identifying missed days. So we're sharing, we keep very tight data on our chronic absenteeism. So we're making sure that we're communicating with families in terms of where we are in the number of days they miss. Sometimes we know that families, we miss school for being sick, appointments and things like that, but those days add up. So we're really just making sure that parents are aware of where their children are at. We have monthly classroom attendance incentives. The last incentive that we did for October was for every classroom that had everybody present that day, they earned a letter. The classroom had to spell the word Layton. We had 2 kindergarten classrooms, a 2nd and a 3rd grade classroom, earn that reward. So they have time with Donnie the Doodle, who's our school dog that comes around with Officer Lemus, I believe. So we're looking forward to him coming in for lunch with those students. Increased communication, we started this year with our new student orientation. We're very proud to say that all of our new students that joined us at Layton this year all attended the orientation and the tour at the end of August, so that was new for us. We're also increasing the number of student leadership opportunities in the building. One of the things that we're continuing to build and grow is a student advisory team. This team meets with me once a month. There are 4 students selected at each grade level 4 through 6 that meet with me after school from 3:30 to 4:30, and we talk about ways that they see through the lens of a student how to improve Layton Elementary. New for us this year is PBI's monthly assemblies. We are talking about the character trait that we're in for the month and then introducing the trait for the next month. Part of, in addition to that, is making sure that families know via Parent Square what that character trait is for the month. That was feedback that we received last year, that families needed a little more time and some explanation of what the character trait was. In our faculty meetings, on our agenda, there's a strategy a month. So what we share with teachers are some brain breaks or some different opportunities to provide some social emotional learning in the classroom. On the newsletter that comes from me monthly, there's a social emotional learning tip included in that. We also implemented this year, our SROs are having a lunch with each classroom at every grade level. We just did third grade, so Officer Hadcock had lunch with all the third graders so far. And our guiding coalition created a cultivating educator wellness survey, so we're working on that. The outcomes that we're expecting from that is to increase our monthly percentage rate to 96% and a 10% reduction of chronically absent students. We know historically over time we've been chipping away at that, and we're seeing a reduction, but we're just hoping to continue, and that's a big goal for us. The number of discipline referrals will be reduced by 15% as measured in the school tool discipline report that we get, and the Cultivating Educator Wellness Survey will help us guide in terms of where our family at Layton has to go in terms to improve our culture and climate. And we will use the comparative analysis of the impact of chronic absenteeism and proficiency, how those two are related. The next goal is student success, increasing the number of students that make adequate growth and are proficient at the literacy skills expected at each grade. We are making sure that our teachers are trained on the dashboard for M-Class, CKLA, and Amplify, continued training and coaching monthly. We increased our literacy coaching hours to 2 times a month. We are using the digital platform, as all of us are, Boost, to build and strengthen skills in addition to our direct instruction. And last year we put into place an end-of-day fluency practice and book club for everybody needing that additional support. So we're looking at how are we holding students accountable this year. So each student that has that additional practice is responsible for recording their own growth and data each time and each week that they're meeting. Grade level book buddies, we had that last year. It started in mid-spring. We're starting a little bit earlier this year, so we're starting to think about how we're matching up students. Right now, we're talking about a kindergarten, 6th grade collaboration, so we're just starting that. Digital data wall is new for us. Last year, we used a sticky note data wall. That was great for the place that you were in, but we know in our data meetings and our conversations, they happen everywhere, so we worked on how to make that digital, so no matter where we were, we can have that same conversation and we're all talking the same language. So we're looking at increasing the proficiency and literacy, keeping on with our skills graph tracking in terms of beginning, middle, and end of the year data growth. So making sure we know where kids are and the gaps that they have in the skills where they are. And the part that I just talked about is recording, students taking accountability and recording their own growth daily, weekly, and monthly. Community connections, enhancing family engagement experiences based upon feedback survey and home and school association collaboration. We started this year home and school volunteer event sign-up sheet. We know that we wanted to increase and build attendance in our home and school meetings, our monthly meetings, but also the number of families that are available and have the opportunity to come and volunteer on our community nights. So we have one community event every single month, but we're trying to build the capacity of, who can help with the concession stand, who can help monitor different stations. So we started that this year. We are going to begin our parent feedback survey of events. Part of some of the feedback we got last year, some events we kind of rolled over from year to year, realized that we may not have been meeting everybody's needs, so we sent that out to families. What would you like to see? Why was this one more beneficial than the other? So we're looking for that feedback. Something new is a community resource handbook, gathering resources, a one-pager of what's available to our families and making that available at all times for our families. Student handbook, we're just refining that. What we're expecting as an outcome is our feedback survey scores will indicate what we will continue versus enhance. So we learned last year there were some things that we're going to continue working on, and then some things we just needed to just do maybe an overhaul or make some minor improvements. Our last was operational systems. We are going to review the interior and exterior of the building and current practices, determine improvements, and ensure the safety of students both inside and outside the school day. So this is when students are here at our family events and the various things that we use, playground, everything included. So this year, we added a family engagement coordinator, since the task has been really large in managing those family events monthly. So a lot goes into the planning, the preparation, and getting people in terms of volunteers and support. So this year, that was new for us, so someone else is taking on that role of scheduling and putting together subcommittees. We have an increased time for SRO. We are working with the high school to make sure that all of our safety procedures and protocols, since we do share a campus, that we're on the same page, that we're having all of our safety drills, and that we're all aware of when they're happening, and increasing that communication. Also working with the athletic director, because we share a campus and we have all the athletic fields and we have the varsity gym. We want to make sure that our schedules, and we just started that this year in terms of continuing that conversation, to make sure that we're not scheduling big things on the same night. So we're working on that. And more family signups regarding the school-based health center. We know that's up and coming, so making sure that we do our job in communicating what we have to offer families. Already talked about safety drills, so the outcome is we are going to have an increased number of families that have access to health care. Monthly activities that are geared to generate an increase in family participation. Right now, we know steadily that we have a pretty large turnout, but we know that we're probably not hitting the mark for everybody. So we want to make sure that we're having events that meet the needs of everyone. Reduction of missed school days due to traveling to counseling or medical appointments, that relates back to the school-based health center. Quicker intake for students needing counseling or other services, and that students, this one relates back to our conducting of our safety drills. The students will be prepared in safety procedures in all settings during the day. So we have been spending more time and attention in other places other than making sure that our safety drills aren't at the same time all the time, and that when we practice our lockdown practice, it's not just in the classroom. It might be in the cafeteria, it might be in the gym, and same with our safety drills. This is our second year of conducting an evacuation drill from the cafeteria, and it went really well. Proud to say that it went really well, because that's a different place where it's a little less structured, and we know that you can never predict when you might have an emergency. So I'm done.
Oh, yeah, I figured I was going to have to move this down. All right, I'm Mary Volkemer. I'm a principal at Kingsford Park. I've been there, this is my 20th year. So focusing on our, side one. Focusing on the guided coalition goals for our building, we were really instructed to really focus on things that are new and different. So that's what's being presented today. If you have questions about anything else that we're doing at Kingsford Park, happy to have that conversation with you. So for the first one, under school culture and climate. So at Kingsford Park, our community the goal is to have both students and staff feel efficacious and welcome. In the past, we have done surveys of students to feel, to assess whether they felt like they belonged to the building, if they had connections with staff. We didn't want to let go of that because the whole reason for that one was to help with our attendance. And it has helped. But at this point, we've kind of stretched it to where now we want to be able to assess whether they have a belief that they have personal ability to impact what they're learning, and their ability to be able to provide that their effort will increase as they learn. So for the strategies, we are conducting a survey. I do have a draft survey that we've prepared if anybody wants to take a look at it for the questions. But we will be administering those ideally next week. We were going to meet one more time this week to go over any additional questions we might want to add. So for the survey, we're going to administer that, and then we will determine from the survey results as to what we need to do, whether people feel like they belong. This is both for students and staff, and whether they feel like they have some sort of impact on their ability to be able to succeed. And maybe. Under student success, in the past we have done, not surveys, but we're looking at the oral reading fluency of students. we were asked to do something new, look at new and different for our building goal. Not that we're not doing that, but in this case, it's really looking at the process we're using for our student-based intervention team. We would normally hold 1 to 2 different meetings as a group to talk about students who are not making progress. That was not efficient when it came to the number of substitutes needed in order to provide, and it took people, valuable people, out of the classroom in order to be able to have this happen. So I've met with the group through our guided coalition along with our guidance staff to determine how can we make this a more efficient process. So what we've done is that we've created or changed what our data team model looks like. In addition, we're adding grade level team meetings. So with this process, at our data team meetings, through the data from both our iReady information along with our CKLA and our DIBELS testing, that we're going to be able to determine what students are not making progress. So all students at those grade levels that are not making progress, we'll have that discussion at that team meeting, and then we will determine if we need to provide an additional increased time or intensity, provide a different intervention, and then track that by adding the minutes into School Tools, which is our student database system. So through this change process, this is uncertain. And I was asked to go ahead and present this because I don't know how it's going to work out. What I do know this is that we were able to leverage time within our school day. It's not going to take substitutes in order to provide this model, and it's not pulling teachers out of a classroom during main components of the day. So we're trial running this. The issue that we may run into is about the collection of data for each of the students. So we're gonna see how this works out. This could be an epic fail, and I've told my staff, if this doesn't work, then we're gonna hope it fails fast, and we're gonna come up with a new system. But we're really hopeful that this is going to work. I'll have much better information after next week when we have our math and ELA data team meetings. The grade level meetings are going great. I'm getting some really good feedback from the teachers on that. We're really trying to focus on a prioritized standard or 2 for that unit of instruction, both in math and in ELA. And we've had some really good conversations out of that so far. Hopefully, our results at the end of the school year will see a lot of growth in student learning outcomes. Community connections. So again, something new and different would be, we're going to be working as grade level teams to come up with a handout for families that will help them understand for each grade level what the expectations are as far as like the standards being taught, what are the learning outcomes that we're going to be looking for, and ideally giving them a list of things if they want to do something with their child at home. Here's a list of some activities or things that you will be able to do. So by the end of the school year, we're looking to have maybe a page front and back, ideally, if we can keep it to that short, I'm hoping, for them to be able to hand out and utilize come next fall. The handout that you were given, that was passed around by Diane, that is about operational systems. That is a way of trying to streamline and making all of the resources available to our staff in a one-stop shop. We're calling it our KPS dashboard. That document has already gone through a revision. I had it as a single page at the beginning of the school year, but teachers have been asking to have more things added to it. So now it's a 2-pager. But I've changed the setup of it in order to be able to include additional links. So the idea of this is that if anybody use Google Drive, wow, love it, don't like it, all in the same breath. Like, it's hard to find stuff in it. And unless you know exactly who sent it to you or maybe a portion of the title to it, it can be difficult. So this dashboard was created, it was an idea from another principal that had shared, and we just kind of really latched onto it. So it's set up, all of our schedules are there, as you can see. We've got resources available. We've got a link to the curriculum hub, so anything coming from our literacy director or our math director, it's all there. Report card times, when report cards are opened and when they're locked. There's just a lot available. We're even encouraging the teachers to actually put this on their bookmark it to be put on their bar, so that way it's just a one-click. Here's your page of resources, click on the link, and this way we'll keep those links alive and active. You can even see I've got my staff meetings in there. So we've already had our September and our October and November staff meetings. I just had that one this morning. So that's a live link. They can click on it, and then they can go to the presentation that was presented for the staff meeting. They really seem to be enjoying that. And that's Kingsford Park.
Hello, thank you so much for having all of us here this evening. I'm Jenny Sullivan, I'm the principal of Minetto Elementary. Our guiding coalition is a group of 10 people, and we looked at data, we talked to our colleagues, we really worked really hard on our goals. Like Kingsford Park, I'm gonna share our newest strategies. We have a lot of things already in place. I've been at Minetto for 8 years. I think we have a lot of outstanding and really positive things happening, so I'm just gonna highlight some of the new things that we have. So those are our four goals. So let's take a look at goal number 1. Fostering a positive and safe community for our students is our top priority. Our goal is to enhance our students' sense of belonging and connection within our school community. Our Minetto Way program does just that. Our Minetto Way program started about 8 years ago. It's a unique approach that we kind of developed together to make sure that we are fostering respective and responsible problem solvers who are safe at school. It's based in research. It has components of PBIS, of the Leader in Me, and of the Kindness Project. We celebrate our Minetto Way every Wednesday. We all wear our buck blue and our Minetto Way gear. And our morning meetings this year are specifically focused on our Minetto Way. You can see the anchor chart that I passed out. We have anchor charts in a lot of different ways. This is the big one that we have. We have a cafeteria one, we have a hallway one, we have entering and exiting one, all sorts of things. So our morning meetings are really connected and focused on our Minetto Way program. We have quarterly Minetto Way events, and we have community guest speakers. The guest speakers are asked to share with our students in what ways the Minetto Way philosophies live in their lives. Our second goal is around our student success. We are really focused on ensuring our students become lifelong readers. Our goal is quarterly guiding coalition meetings and monthly data meetings. We'll use and analyze data to identify and provide additional support for 20% of our students who may be falling behind on their benchmark. Over the past several years, some of you know we've been really focused on the science of reading. It's the backbone of our instruction. I could love to talk with all of you for the next 45 minutes about the science of reading and the importance of building brain synapses so that we all know how to read, but I'm going to be brief. So along with our solid reading instruction to build a foundation, our teachers are looking at data every month and at their grade level meetings much more often than that, and they're finding instructional practices that are going to enhance that so we can make sure that all of our students are reading. Our Book Buddy program, like was mentioned in other buildings, we've paired classrooms together. It helps us instill the love of reading and also help our students help each other to focus on their foundational reading skills, and that's been a really positive thing. We have several other strategies that I've listed here, and we're really excited to see how all of this data pans out as we look at our readers and make sure that we're meeting them where they are. Our next goal is about our community connections. It's so important for our families to feel and be positively connected to our school. Over the past several years, we've worked to foster these positive practices, from our friendly faces in the office to our bi-weekly messages that are sent through Parent Square. We want to make sure that all of our parents know that their kids are in a healthy and safe place at Minetto Elementary. This year, we're really going to focus on analyzing all of the communication pieces that we already have in place and make sure that the parents are getting the information that they need. We also want to enhance that and make sure that we're also doing some information sharing and helping our parents understand and learn more about the ways that we're teaching the students. And I passed out the little reading and writing packet that we created together to help them understand more about the science of reading, and we're going to send home information like that throughout the school year. And lastly, we have our operational systems. We have a very substantial and meaty Google Drive. I feel like it's not a Google Drive junk drawer. It's really very organized, in my humble opinion. But anyway, I would really like to make sure that our teachers are having at their fingertips all the most important information that they need. So that was shared in the other buildings. We've created a dashboard so the teachers or the TAs can go to that dashboard and quickly link all of the important things that they need at their fingertips to make sure that our students are getting the information and the strategies and the teaching materials that they need. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I did want to say thank you so much for inviting us here tonight. It's an honor to be here, and I'm really proud to be a part of our Buccaneer community. And I'll just say, God bless America. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Are there any questions from the board? Comments?
I just said, thank you very much, everybody, for presenting. I just had a question in regards to, excuse me, the presentations we had last week as well with secondary and with high school, and you're all working on the strategic plan relative to your goals and studying. Do we have a sense of alignment between everyone in terms of expectations from when you hand off to secondary or to middle school, and then middle school handing off to the high school in terms of alignment and expectation that way?
You're gonna have
Yes.
to clarify that question a little bit more, Mr. Schiappa.
Are we in constant communication in terms of, we're talking about the goal setting that we have in elementary, right? And what we're doing here. I just wanted to make sure that we had, or I'm just questioning, do we have alignment all the way through in terms of communication up and down so that so we have those conversations between the two, the secondary and elementary?
So one, the action plans are building specific, right?
Right.
But they're all based on the district strategic plan. So everything, which is why you saw them all, they were all based on the 4 priorities.
Correct.
And so everyone is working on the strategic plan and those goals, but everyone also has goals within their own building to try to develop and move that building forward. Every building is unique, and so that's really the function of the action plan goals.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
You bet.
I appreciate that.
Okay, I just want to tell you, I loved hearing every word of that. And it's really exciting and rather interesting to hear each of your individual building goals. They're all amazing. And I cannot imagine what you were thinking when you were told you had to put together in 5 minutes everything you do, because that was pretty good. And I know there's probably way more, but it was very good. I did want to say I'm really proud of our elementary schools, and I think that all of this work is so important. And I sit here and I listen to all of you, and I am reflecting on the district goals that we have, and they're so spot on, and I'm so happy that you all have embraced them, because it's evident that you have. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for coming tonight and sharing everything. I agree with Julie, and I'm sure the rest of the board. I mean, there's certainly a lot going on, and it seems as though each of you are really, engaged in owning it. My question is, how does each of the 5 building administrators share successes and failures that you might have when implementing your plans? Like, do you get together? Do you talk? I mean, so that, if there's an epic fail, that another building doesn't do it, like, how do you share those?
I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in. We text each other often. We have group texts going. I know that these are my people. And so if I have a question, I reach out, and each one of them does too. I've worked in 5 districts in my tenure. I've never felt more supported by a group of colleagues, because they have such a plethora of experiences that I don't have, and vice versa. So I am very comfortable when I don't know something or I want to share something. They have my back and I have theirs. That's just my personal opinion.
We share a lot of things. We even have like a shared drive that we put some documents and things like that in so that we all have access to. We prioritize if one of us calls the other, we're calling that person back to make sure that we can answer or help in any type of situation. We sometimes cover for one another for the buildings, if they're out for an appointment or something like that, we are on call. As far as like planning purposes and stuff, we meet regularly, fairly regularly, especially during the summer, to try to plan with what's going on. We will actually create documents together and put it in that Google folder that we've got. It's a good team.
And when we send messages, we generate that message together and we do a scheduled send so everybody hears the same thing in all of our buildings.
Yeah,
So
even our parents wear stuff,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and include
All
one
the
another
same.
in saying, this is what I sent, this is what you sent, so.
Also on the dashboards, like that looks like, in my profession, when you have a lot of information that you're trying to share with your staff, I compliment you on that because there's so much information out there, but the efficiency gain and going out and being able to get it quickly to implement and execute, that really helps throughout a day, and I'm sure your staff appreciates that. So the dashboards are pretty interesting to me.
Any other board members? Again, thank you very much. Great work. Appreciate it. All right, next on the agenda are committee discussions. I imagine, Dave, nothing from audit because we just had our presentation. So community relations, nothing. Facilities, yes, Sean?
First and foremost, above everything else, thank you very much to our Oswego community for the support of the 2024 capital project, passing at 72%. On behalf of the board, the superintendent, everybody in our district, we really appreciate the community supporting that. That really helps us as we wrap up the 2018 capital project in phase 4 to continue our planning, which we have been working on for the 2024 capital project. And, believe it or not, we're already starting to think about 2026. So Ray and Pete have communicated our long-range plan and our capital projects and the continuation of those and our capital outlay project. These things really help us in planning and being productive with what we can do and leveraging state aid. So thank you very much. We just met last week on the 4th. We're, again, just a reminder, we're meeting every 2 weeks, whether it be in person or remote. But we're getting together with King and King and have very productive 2-hour meetings. So we're really focusing on just everything that we're doing and wrapping up the 2018 capital project and over the next 2 years, and then prioritizing what we're going to do with the the funding of the 2024 project. A couple other programs that are going on right now or starting that I want to mention to the board is the energy performance contract, so EPC. That has to do with lighting throughout our school district and enhancement in that type of environment. And the SSB Act project, Smart Schools Bond Act, and that has to do with cameras and security throughout our school district. So these are, there's a lot going on. Those are a couple other initiatives that are happening throughout our campuses to make this a better place for our kids to learn. And lastly, just an update, up at the middle school, last board meeting and the board meeting before that, we approved emergency funding for some damage that we found with some of the windows and a wall up at the middle school. That's going great. They started working on that, scaffolding's in place, and actually it's a little less worse than we thought. So, sometimes when you open things up, it's like, but this time it was like, okay, we know what we got, and things are getting worked on up at the middle school. So, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Policy? Anything else?
Nothing.
Nothing. Visitation, Julie?
Yes. So this is my first run on the visitation committee. Kristen, she's a hard act to follow, so I'm going to do my best. We did get to visit Tracy at Riley School, and personally, I had never really been to Riley, so it's hard for me to compare what Riley looked like years ago as opposed to now. And we just heard her talk about culture and climate. I think that, Tracy, I'm so glad you're here to hear this, but you are hitting it out of the park on culture. I mean, the building is, I even questioned her that, did she send an email out last night to make sure everyone had their, everything was, I mean, as if it was the Better Homes and Gardens, only a school setting. It was pretty great. The positive messages through the building they had me turning my head the entire time we were there. I'm really excited about your outdoor learning lab. I know that we talked a little bit after that. As you proceed with intergenerational programs, you know, I know a lot of people that are older. So, but I'm really excited about the actual opportunity for our students to have that outdoor learning experience. I think that's amazing, in the garden, all of it. The one thing, we were there when kids weren't there, so I imagine it was very different of a tour than it would be when students were there. However, there was a lot of your faculty was there. And again, I don't know what you told them to say or do, but they were very genuine. I'm just kidding with you. They were so genuine and so excited. And, you know, you can just tell when someone's really happy to be where they are. Like, you can tell by their body language, you can tell by their expression and their tone, all of it. And that was not practice, that was real. So it was really exciting for me to see that in your staff. We did see the kids coming in real quick. That was kind of fun. So hopefully we'll see some schools when their students are there. It was super organized. I can't believe it. The cubbies in these classrooms, I don't know how, I would envy, I think every teacher in the town would envy those cubbies. They're beautiful. The other thing I wanted to say was I feel like the building is so welcoming from the very minute when you talked about up there. And it's like, so what you said was everything that I saw. So you talking about you reaching out and community engagement, right from the get-go, walking into Riley, there's the vestibule and there's the monitor, and there's all these really great resources for families, which I felt was really like so welcoming and so inviting. And when you say you want families to come in, that you do. It shows that from the second you walk in. So it was really great. Lastly, well, not lastly, second to last, the gym downstairs is about the only place I'd ever been at Riley. And I was happy to report I knew what our team met on those basketball hoops for the Riley Tigers. But I'm on a mission to find you someone to paint the Buccaneers on those things. But that was fun. The gym hasn't changed much, so I can say that. But lastly, the staff lounge, the faculty lounge, I wish you could have seen this. You might find me sitting in there one day. It was so welcoming. And again, it makes sense because the staff seemed so happy to be there. And you created, and I know that you created that space for them, and it was beautiful. And it just shows that you really do take pride in the building. And it was really nice to see all the work that I think has happened in the past probably 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. So it was a great visit. So I'm looking forward to coming to see everyone. Yeah. Oh, and next time, if you're having a school spirit day, I would like to know in advance because I could have worn my pajamas that day. But that was kind of fun. So thank you for having us. You're a great host.
Thank you, Julie.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We're going to break up the minutes. So we'll do first, item A is the minutes of our public hearing and regular meeting of October 15th. So if I can get a motion for A, please.
Move it.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, David. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? There you go. Item B, we've got the minutes of our special meeting on October 30th. Is there a motion, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining?
I don't want Sean to be alone. I'll abstain.
The two Seans, there we go. All right, now we're going to group items C through E. So we'll start with the OMS extra class report and go through the end of the consent agenda. So the remaining items, if I can get a motion for C through E, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jolie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kristen. Any discussion on items C through E? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're to personnel. We have 2 retirements. Item A is an administrative staff retirement of Mr. Robert Syracuse. And item B is a support staff retirements. There's 2 of them, Dale Sharkey and Dennis Smith. So if I can get a motion for A and B, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. Any discussion?
Just quickly, certainly congratulations to Mr. Syracuse, but I really wanted to congratulate the 2 support staff who've been with us for over 20 years and thank them for their service. And good luck and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to extend, again, my thanks to Robert, Bob. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your work here, and thanks, and good luck.
Okay, anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have professional staff recommendations. So C and D, please. If I can have a motion for C and D.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have regular substitutes, support staff recommendations. I'm going to group items E through M, please. So if I can have a motion on items E through M.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion on our regular substitute and support staff recommendations, items E through M? Okay, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have our extra compensatory positions, which would be items N through P. So if I can have a motion for N through P, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. Any discussion on items N through P? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. Next, we have finance. I'm going to group A and B together. So if I can have a motion for finance items A and B.
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion? Okay, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have C and D, which are the external audit that we were just presented by Mr. Zuber, and the corrective action plan that usually accompanies that audit each year. So if we can have a motion for items C and D, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion on those two? Okay, having heard all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'm going to take the remainder of our finance items, which are items E through I, please. I have to do some service agreements and a budget transfer and a donation. So items E through I, please. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion on these finance items E through I? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next on the agenda are items from the board. Do any board members have items this evening? All righty, excellent. There is a need for an executive session this evening for the purposes of collective negotiations pursuant Article 14 of Civil Service Law and the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation. I do not believe there will need to be a vote at the end. So if I can have a motion to move to executive, please? Thank you, Sean. Is there a second? Thank you, Julie. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Have a great evening, everybody.